Basically, the world is ending. If rereading this book 4 times did not tell you already, short horror books are hitting for me this year. You know, I'm feeling a little crowded. I'm gonna be obsessed with this man. Sorry, editing that. Hey y'all, it's Nat. I hope you're being a terrific day today. And for this video, we are gonna be doing my June wrap up. Alrighty, before we get to anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below and tell me in the comments how many books did you read this month. Alrighty, so closing out June. Oh my god, can you believe it is already July? June weirdly went really fast but also really slow. Part of that may come down to the fact that I attempted my 10,000 pages in 10 days challenge. If you missed it, I'll put a link to that video in the cards up above. So I have a good stack of books to talk to you guys about today. As per usual, I only review books in my wrap-ups that I don't talk about in specific reading vlogs. Or warning for that. I did have a few reading vlogs come out this month. I think it was mostly ARC vlogs, though I did also have a booktuber recommends collaboration and then a book haul revisited Read My Shelves. So I'll have links for all those videos down below if you're interested. But let's go ahead and jump into my stats for this month. So in June, I read 26 books, which is fantastic. Across those 26, I read 7,997 pages. Really high page count. Also kind of in itself sort of spoils my 10,000 pages in 10 days attempt. But when it comes to this roughly 8,000 pages, a fair amount of this was from audiobook hours, and that worked out to about 156 hours. That is my average rating for the month was 3.85 stars, so not too bad overall. And then I did unfortunately have 1 DNF. We also had a wide variety when it came to genres. I read 2 fantasy books, followed by 5 horror, 8 manga, and then 1 nonfiction, 4 romances, 3 romanticies, and then 3 sci-fi. For the little goals I keep for myself based on my genres, you can see that I did complete a nonfiction book as well as a manga or comic, and then I did actually read a book that was more than 450 pages. Actually, I think I read 3 of them. That's great. When it comes to my series tracking, I started into 1 new series. I read 8 continuations. I finished out another series, and then I did make the decision that I was not going to continue with 3 series. Lastly, my favorite stat that I probably need to be paying a little bit more attention to is the number of books I read off of my owned TBR, and it worked out to 7. Wish this number was a little bit higher when I read so many books this month, but it's fine. It's fine. Alright, so without further ado, let's dive into reviews. I do have a fair few, and I think I'm going to go chronologically on these so that I can kind of pair up the series ones. That way we can kind of talk about all of those in one go. Starting at the top, I did do a reread of the first Murderbot book by Martha Wells, All Systems Red. I think this is my 4th reread of this one at this point. We are following a security unit who has hacked its governor module, meaning it does not have to necessarily follow the orders given to it, but it chooses to do so in order to make its life easy and so that it can do what it really wants, which is to basically binge as much media as possible, specifically their favorite soap opera. If rereading this book 4 times did not tell you already, I love this book. I think it is so much fun. Kevin R. Free does a phenomenal job in the audio. Murderbot is one of my favorite characters. I really relate to them. I love the character arc that they go on in this series. I love the little fountain family that slowly develops. The adventures are so much fun. I really appreciate the sci-fi world Wells has created here. I need to get my hands on the newest one. I really want to try and get that read this next month with Josh if possible. So yeah, this was 5-star once again. Next up is Bad Gaze by Hugh Lemmey and Ben Miller. This was my nonfiction pick for the month. You know, I'm feeling a little crowded. I'm going to slide you over a little bit. So every chapter of this is a different person throughout history who is known to be gay and also not necessarily a good person, and kind of dives into the history of their life, why they're not necessarily utilized as a prime example for gay people in history, but their life and their history does still add and helps to evolve the gay identity. So I went into this one really excited, and while I did enjoy it, I did have a few qualms. On the whole, this was a very interesting book. Every chapter kind of deep dives into a certain niche point in history, which was really cool, but it does read pretty academic with the occasional like colloquial joke thrown in. And honestly, I do feel like the writing style itself could have used some lightening up up in certain chapters, given that there's so much context added to each of these people, and sometimes it just gets a little heavy to read. And then I also wish there was kind of a more ongoing connection throughout all of the chapters, though each of them are adding to the evolution of the gay identity. As I said, I don't feel like we really get to see the direct ties of this example into that main topic actually explored in each chapter. Instead, most of the chapters feel very separated and segmented out. And while I do think it was kind of intentional that majority of the people profiled here were cis white gay men, I do think it would have been a lot more interesting, added more nuance to the topic, and maybe also some more validity if they did have a wider range of people explored. While these guys may have been at the center and kind of the loudest and proudest examples of bad gays, deep diving into people who maybe identified as something other than gay and also weren't white or from America/Europe would have definitely added to this book and also probably to my enjoyment, I think. I also did have an issue with labeling all of these people as bad because there's a wide variety of people in here, and yes, some of them maybe are not necessarily good people or did things that were technically illegal for their times, but there's a very drastic difference in some of the examples, and yet both of them fall under the umbrella of bad. Again, I do want to say I did enjoy this. It was very interesting. I do feel like I learned a lot from it, but I also think this kind of is a kicking off point for me to do my own research and deep dive into some of these topics that I mentioned already. So for that reason, I went with a 4-star in this one. Like I said, I still enjoyed it. I would still recommend it, but if you're maybe already pretty well versed in some of this topic, in some of this history, I could understand maybe this being a little too amateur for you. And let me pull them out. Okay, so next up, I read volumes 4, 5, and 6 of Cells at Work by Akane Shimizu. This is an action-adventure manga series where we are set inside a body and we're following these different cells, most notably a red blood cell and a white blood cell, and kind of just seeing their everyday life and like how they make the body run and the different issues they can run into that can cause problems throughout the body. Across the board, I did enjoy this series overall, but I feel like every single volume did have something that just kept me from really loving it and giving it 5 stars. For example, in volume 4, very educational, but I did feel like I had a hard time following the action in this one. Some of the panels just were like super jumpy and I had no idea what the characters were actually doing apart from quote fighting. Volume 5 honestly felt more like a finale than volume 6 did, and on the whole I did enjoy it. We get to see numerous different characters that we had met in little side adventures previously kind of come back, which really made this one feel full circle. I have to say, out of the entire series, this one's probably my favorite, but I still only gave it 4 stars. And last is volume 6. This one's the actual end of the series as far as I'm aware, though there are like 6 or 7 spin-offs in this universe, and I don't know if I necessarily care enough about this idea to read all of these spin-offs. This one, the most interesting angle of it was the fact that COVID was involved here, which I thought would be the main focus for the volume, but in reality it's really only the final issue, which seemed kind of like a missed opportunity in my opinion. But that said, there were 2 issues in this one talking about blood loss, and those were very interesting and very educational. Also gave this one 4 stars. At the very least, I'm glad I finished out a series there. Next up, I read eynhallow by mcgregor for my Nerds Pride readathon, which was a readathon hosted over on my Patreon. I do have an exclusive reading blog for it. If you're interested, I'll have a link to my Patreon down below. But this one is a Frankenstein retelling. However, we were following this woman, Agnes, who lives on eynhallow, and everything in her daily life is thrown in upheaval whenever this new guy, Victor Frankenstein, comes to live on the island. I really liked this. I don't know what it was about the writing, but it was just very bingeable and like it continuously kept pulling me back into the story. Super atmospheric. I also really enjoyed the themes around womanhood, misogyny of this time, to the point that I was a little shocked a man was the one writing this. But at the same time, I think he did a really fantastic job of tackling similar topics to the original Frankenstein, but kind of from a different angle, so that the story itself felt very true to the original while giving us a different perspective. I also was very unsure as to how this was going to end in a way that was satisfying, but I gotta give it to him. He actually pulled it out. I really liked this one, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. Short horror books are hitting for me this year. Next up is another manga series that I made a good dent in. I read volumes 4, 5, 6, and 7 of Kaiju No. 8 by Naoya Matsumoto. So this is a sci-fi series set in a world where there are kaiju emergences, and Japan has them worse than anywhere else. We are following Kafka, who at the start of the series works as a cleanup crew member for these kaiju emergences, but he has always wanted to be a member of the defense task force that fights against them. And after a weird experience, he finally gets that opportunity. I have been loving this series. I really like Kafka as a main character. He's definitely an underdog, but with this new ability, it kind of always puts him on top, but he doesn't let that get to his head. He's still such a pure person, and he's also the oldest of his group, so he's really like their biggest cheerleader. So I really appreciate that. Starting out with volume 4, I was really impressed with the action that happened in this one. The author is fantastic at like settings and background work. Their art, when it comes to those elements in particular, is really great. But as far as the plot goes, this actually ended up doing a reveal that I thought was going to, be like a much bigger issue throughout this series and probably wouldn't be addressed until later on. So I was pleasantly surprised that it came up in the 4th volume, and it had me very intrigued to continue on. So I picked up volume 5 pretty quickly after that, and I love Kafka. I love him so much, but introduction of a new character here that, I'm gonna be obsessed with this man. Specifically, I'm talking about Jindarumi. I don't know what it is about a guy who is 99% of the time a total slacker, but then when he puts in effort, he just absolutely demolishes. That works so well for me. And then volume 6, we have an absolutely phenomenal fight scene that ended on such a cliffhanger. So this one, 5 stars. And finishing out for the month with volume 7, absolutely flabbergasted that the author did us like that with the closing out of the cliffhanger. But I was very glad to see the return of a character who was really prevalent in the first few volumes, but has kind of taken a back seat. He is definitely going to be more important moving forward, and I am excited for that. This one, also 5 stars. Next up, Josh and I officially finished Out on the Road by Stephen Graham Jones. This is the second in a bind up with The Babysitter Lives. We had already read this one. So, close this one out. We are following Harper, who is basically running away from home, and her father was a trucker, so she's pretty familiar with this trucker lifestyle and is intending to kind of hitchhike somewhere, but is waylaid by not only her ex-boyfriend, her best friends, and then eventually her little sister. But they unfortunately end up pissing off this trucker known as Buckethead, who has this ability to change his form whenever he eats human flesh. And I gotta say, I loved the idea of this book. I really thought the setup with trucker life was very interesting. Buckethead as a villain, I think he's weirdly charismatic, but just straight up terrifying at the same time. And you always have this sense that this man is insane because you can't trust what he's going to do next. That said though, a lot of this book really reminded me of a B-rated horror film, and I mean that in the most derogatory way possible because Harper, the main character, drove me insane. These teenagers make so many dumb decisions that it had me wanting to put my head through my steering wheel. Majority of the time we were listening to this while driving. I also unfortunately had a hard time with Jones's writing in this one. Majority of his stuff to me reads very stream of consciousness and makes it very easy to pull you into the story and the character's perspective. But at the same time, there were a lot of moments in this where the writing itself felt really choppy and stilted, which always sort of kept me at a distance. And then with how the plot unfolds, it also made slower moments drag a lot more. So unfortunately, this is probably my least favorite of his stuff that I have read to date. I only gave it 3 stars. Still original. It's still weird. The gore is great. I do think it's a pretty solid combo to go with The Babysitter Lives, especially with how both of these books end. This one, not a new fave. Next up, I read the 14th volume of SpyXfamily by Tatsuya Endo. I adore this series. It's very comfy cozy. We're following a spy who is on a mission to bring this man down, and in order to do so, basically creates a fake family for himself. Unfortunately, he does not know that his fake wife is an assassin and his daughter is a telepath, and the only person that knows this is the daughter because she is a telepath. Honestly, the first few issues of this volume felt very much like filler. They are super quick. They provide no impact on the plot. Then there is one issue where it actually seemed like we were setting up this locked room mystery story, and I was so engaged. I was so intrigued to watch Lloyd, the spy, figure this all out and like play her cool pro and give us this grand declaration moment, except we literally get the setup and then time jump over all of it. Why would you do that? I am still annoyed about it. But the latter half of this volume really focuses more on world building and builds out two characters who are on the older side and kind of explores the war that's been going on between these two countries for numerous years now, and also the relationship between these two characters as well. I really enjoyed that angle of it. So this one's still a 4-star, even though I didn't love this one. Like, I will literally read the entirety of this series, and I know I will enjoy even the meh books of it because I just love the characters. Next up is They Bloom at Night by Trang Thanh Tran. I picked this one up kind of on a whim, also for my Nerds Pride readathon, and ended up really enjoying it. I blasted through this audiobook. So we're following this teenager, Noon, who unfortunately has recently lost their father and brother. So they, along with their mom, are forced to try and survive by running their family's crabbing boat. However, their father never really taught them or their mom to do so, so they're sort of stumbling their way through it. However, things are even more complicated because of this red algae that is starting to take over the ecosystem around them. Then they sort of get not quite they get manipulated into trying to find this missing scientist and this weird monster thing that rumors are flying around about because it keeps making people disappear. And the harbor master sends his daughter Cubby to go along with them. This was weird, but I really enjoyed the way the author wove in different themes into this story: gender, identity, race, misogyny, sexuality, family dynamics. I'll admit, when I first started into this book, I was a little bit confused as far as the setting goes because there isn't a ton of world building done at the start. You kind of just get thrown in, but it's also set in Louisiana, so of course it does have this sort of southern gothic feel to it, which is very up my alley. And they kind of similar with On the Road, the lifestyle of these characters is original, is unique, which also makes the story stand out a little bit more, and it kept my intrigue pretty high. Plus, I do have to say, with this sort of a setting, it lends itself to eco horror so well, and I definitely think Tran did a really great job with that. As the story continues, we get to learn more and more about Noon's character and their background, and I had such complicated and conflicting feelings about it, but it also matched so well with the experience Noon was going through, which I thought was very well done. And again, the way these experiences like weave in with the different themes was really great. I did, however, wish the side characters in this were a little bit better built out. I felt like Noon was really the only character that was fully fleshed. Everybody else was a little flat. And I think if the characters were more 3D, it would have helped with the dynamics that Noon had with them, made me more invested in those relationships and some of the events that unfold. I also felt like the story needed a little bit more direction at the start of the book because I hit the halfway point in this, and while I was enjoying what I was reading, I also had absolutely no idea where the book was going next. And I don't mean that in a good way, especially given the fact that the ending of this book does feel kind of rushed. So I think certain elements of the plot needed to start being laid out a little bit faster. But even still, I did really enjoy this. I think it stood out as a YA horror, and I highly recommend it. 4 stars. I also just realized I actually had that sitting here, so I could have been holding it up and wouldn't have had to put in the photo. Sorry, editing that. Next up, I finally got around to reading Triple Sec by TJ Alexander. Alexander. This was my first polyamorous romance, and unfortunately, I did not really enjoy it. Backtrack, we are following Mel, who married the first girl she ever dated, and unfortunately, not long ago, ended up getting divorced. So now she's pretty jaded. She doesn't really believe in love, but she meets this really hot chick, Bebe, who comes into her bar, and they sort of hit it off. Mel tries to shoot her shot, but is sort of thrown when Bebe tells her that she already has a partner, Cade, except the two of them are polyamorous. So Bebe and Mel do still continue to date, and Mel is really outside of her comfort zone with this. The interesting thing in the setup of this book is it's actually done in 3 different parts, and you basically have 3 different romance stories within one book. But honestly, I didn't really like that breakdown. The first part is Mel and Bebe, the second part is Mel and Cade, and then the third is the 3 of them together. Across the board, I did not feel that Mel was emotionally mature enough for this sort of a relationship. She was not a very good communicator. Honestly, I think she was kind of selfish. She wasn't a very good friend either. And so all of that stuff definitely made me not really enjoy Mel. But then on the opposite side, the love interest characters honestly felt kind of like character archetypes. There wasn't a ton of depth there that really made me love their characters, which also meant I wasn't super taken away with the romance Mel had with either of them. I liked the romance Mel had with Bebe well enough, though there's sort of a, I guess I'll say third act conflict, even though it does not happen in the third act, that happens between the two of them. It felt way overblown, and then I hated how it was resolved. Then we jump into part 2, and Mel has their romance with Cade, which honestly felt very insta-lust forward. So then by the third part, I just didn't really care all that much. But then Mel continues to be a terrible communicator, and once again, too emotionally immature for this relationship. So I got really frustrated with it. Unfortunately, I felt like the author was really focused on trying to make good, palatable, polyamorous representation in this book, which I'll be honest, like that might not be their fault. It actually might be the fault of the publishers that like the story got watered down. But one way or another, it resulted in characters that weren't super interesting and romances that were pretty meh. So I didn't really end up enjoying the story. The one thing I will give this book, salt and spice. I'll say, Alexander, you know what you're doing. But again, I was so uninvested in the romance that I couldn't super enjoy the spice, which is a real crime. So this book was like a very low 3 stars. There were certain elements and the idea of the book I really appreciated, especially coming from a traditional publisher. But yeah, this one definitely was not the swoony, steamy romance I thought I was gonna have. And I think last for this video is gonna be my Geek Squad pick for June. The Geek Squad is the book club I host over on my Patreon, so I do also have a spoilery reading blog of this one if you were so intrigued. We read We Burn So Bright by TJ Klune, which is this little sci-fi novella where basically the world is ending, a black hole is coming to demolish Earth. We follow Dawn and Rodney, who are going on this final road trip across the country in order to sort of say goodbye. And we get to see all of the interesting and terrifying and fun characters they meet along the way. Klune truly just knows how to elicit emotions so well with his writing. Good or bad. I laughed in this book. I cried in this book. So many things made me hopeful. So many things gave me existential dread. This book was a total bundle of juxtaposing experiences, and that's not just in like what the reader's experiencing, it's also in what the characters are experiencing. The numerous different wild responses people have to learning that, hey, the world is gonna end. And it definitely explores the different ways people can react to that news and how they go about living their lives with it. Across the board though, all of it feels so incredibly human. It is devastating, but at the same time, it is hopeful. Like, I read this book and I simultaneously wanted to sob my eyes out, but also go around and hug everybody I know and tell them I am thankful for them. It's TJ Klune. It was no surprise that this was 5 stars. Really, really liked this. It's very in line with Klune's writing style, but it doesn't have a ton of whimsy in comparison to a lot of his stuff. However, it still balances the line emotionally. Like I've been saying, it gives you the good, it gives you the bad. It was so good. All right, and on that note, that is officially it for today. Also, thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, wow, what are we gonna leave? I guess let's leave a martini glass for triple sec down in the comments. I've got links to all of my socials if you're not following me on something down in the description. I come out videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!